Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 228th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing great, Cameron. How about you?
Not too bad, not too bad. This past weekend, we got to watch the Tournament of Champions here in Springfield. That was really fun. I thought maybe we could just talk about that a little bit, how fun it was, and any names that jumped out to us from that event that we want to keep track of. I know one in particular, we talked about him a lot. We didn't talk about him on the preview because I didn't know anything about him because he wasn't ranked or anything. But one of the players for Staley in Kansas City, his name's Kyan Evans. He's going to Colorado State next year, and he was really impressive. I'll be keeping an eye on him.
Yeah, he honestly looked good enough to play at a higher level, in my opinion, at least in that tournament. But a lot of talent. Link Academy was there from Branson.
They won it.
All 5 of their starters are seniors that are committed to, like, Power 5 colleges.
Yeah.
And then not even a starter was, like, junior John Bowl, like 7'2" center. Yeah. And we got a pretty up-close and personal view of him. And
yeah, the championship game was insane.
Yeah.
So much D1 talent. Yeah,
actually he did start, I think, but
he starts for Sunrise.
Oh
yeah.
My gosh.
But
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, he started for
Sunrise.
That's
why you're giving me that look like what?
Yeah, I was trying to delicately.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that was pretty delicate. Nobody knew it. Nobody knows now either. Oh man. Yeah, Link Academy.
Yeah.
Different.
Aaron Rowe for Link Academy, he looked pretty good.
Yes.
As a sophomore, he actually played quite a bit.
Yeah. He's probably Missouri basketball's like number 1 target over the next 2 or 3 years at this point.
John Bull, we sat in on a press conference where he talked about playing on Missouri State's court because he played there last year in the state championship game. They won state last year. And he actually said that it's nice to play in Missouri because it feels like home because he's from St. Louis. And I feel like that's any little tidbit of positive vibes from him about the state of Missouri is welcome. He seems like the type of player that everybody will be in on and will just most likely go wherever his professional prospects are the best. And I could see him going to like Kentucky or North Carolina or someplace like that. But it'd be nice to keep him home. Aaron Rowe, on the other hand, being from Columbia, I feel like we got a better shot there. And I think the staff will make him, like you said, a very high priority. And we've got 2 years still to put in the legwork. But he looked really good for a sophomore. I thought he held his own.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of wondering, like, before the tournament, how much he was going to play on a team that's so incredibly stacked with guys that are a year or two older than him. But he played a decent amount and made an impact for sure.
Yeah. They were fun to watch. They played like full court trapping defense, so he would fit right in with what Dennis Gates is doing this year for Mizzou at least. That's always a fun event. We have a lot of football news to talk about for Mizzou. Got some commitments from some transfers. We got a commitment on the basketball side of things as well. And then, of course, we will talk about the last week in Mizzou basketball and preview their upcoming schedule. Don't forget, of course, to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review where you listen to us, and you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Jumping in here with some football news, Kyle. There were 3 transfer commitments yesterday, day before, a couple days ago.
Recently?
Yeah. All on the same day is what I was getting at.
Yeah.
We got the three-peat. So I thought we could talk about those guys a little bit. First one that committed was Ole Miss wide receiver Dennis Jackson. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school, 2 years of eligibility remaining. Didn't play last year, but had 12 catches for 244 yards the year before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the case was last year, why he didn't play, but yeah, like you said, had a pretty good year in 2021. Kind of a burner. He's a speedy guy. He's not real big. He's 6 foot 170. Watching a few highlights of him, I definitely think that he could Be that guy that comes in. I think maybe we talked about this last week a little bit, but be the guy that comes in and just kind of stretches the field, makes the defense respect the speed of the offense. And Missouri just hasn't really had that guy, and the last couple of seasons. And when you don't have that guy that can take the top off the defense, you end up playing small ball and dink and dunk and that kind of stuff. So it's good to have a guy like Dennis Jackson, even if he's not going to go up there and put up crazy numbers. He's just the constant threat that he can burn you at any moment. And so yeah, he still has 2 years remaining. And yeah, you said he was a 4-star recruit out of high school, so clearly a guy that's got good pedigree.
Next guy that was committed was Arizona State defensive end Joe Moore III. He is originally from St. Louis. He played in high school at Cardinal Ritter, was a 3-star recruit, and the son of former Missouri running back Joe Moore.
Yeah, obviously a Mizzou legend. That's pretty cool. I would say Joe Moore at this point, like maybe maybe the most important transfer addition that we've made, just because it may be a starter immediately, and just he had a good year last year. Pretty much all of his production and his career came last year. So 30 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, and 13 career games. Like I said, a lot of it came last year. So a guy that is kind of taking an impressive trajectory in his career, had a great sophomore year. And, there's not going to be a whole lot of competition there in the defensive end position with, losing Isaiah McGuire, Trajan Jeffcoat. There's certainly an opportunity for him to come in and play a lot.
And then the last guy was Florida State defensive back Sidney Williams, originally from Alabama, was a 3-star recruit out of high school, comes in at 6'3", 200 pounds, so pretty big for a defensive back. A welcome addition. Already, it's kind of interesting, adding a wide receiver, adding a defensive back, those are positions that Missouri was going to be doing okay next season. But I don't know, I think you just take the talent when you can get it. You can't have too many capable receivers and defensive players.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this is one of those like best available situations. Like, I don't know that he's going to start, but sometimes it just doesn't really matter who starts. I mean, he's still going to get a lot of playing time, I think. Obviously, Joseph Charleston and Jalen Carlisle are coming back, and obviously Dalen Carnell, I think, has the star position locked up. But, I think Sidney Williams could play some strong safety, maybe a little bit of star, but, he has a lot of good experience in his career, and 66 tackles and an interception in 21 games, kind of known as a big hitter at Florida State. I was listening to a couple of guys talking about the transfer, and when a couple of Florida State guys, and they were kind of surprised actually that he was transferring, because they thought that he might be able to play a bigger role at Florida State next year. And so they were, and he wasn't committed to Missouri at the point of that they were recording it, but they were a little surprised. And so I think this is a good addition. I think that I read that he might be Chris Abrams-Drain's cousin.
Yeah,
so
I saw that as well.
That may be part of the connection why he ended up here.
Yeah.
That's definitely a welcome addition for sure.
So 3 additions through the transfer portal. I still want to see offensive line.
Yeah.
That's got to be addressed.
I agree.
Well, it's addressed a little bit, I guess, with the return of Javon Foster, and the next thing I needed to talk about.
Yeah.
Goes a long way towards making me feel better, but I don't know. I would feel so much better if soon news came through that Mizzou had locked up a transfer that, was starting caliber. But definitely great to have Foster back.
For sure, yeah. It seems like they surely have to still add an offensive lineman, and I would hope, honestly, for a tight end at this point.
Yeah.
And probably another defensive end, honestly. But those are 3 of the most important positions, and we've done some stuff. We've got some good news with returning players and that kind of stuff. But Javon Foster coming back is huge, and he's a great tackle, and has had a really solid career at Missouri. He's been pretty healthy, and honestly, I thought he'd go the NFL route this year, so it's great to have him back.
Did you see, somebody in Discord, I think, posted it maybe, but it was Michigan's, come back for another year fund. Did you see this? Their NIL. I can't remember where I saw this, but...
Yeah, that's where it was.
Okay. So Michigan has a specific NIL fund that is trying to get players who might go, they're like fringe NFL players, to come back for another season.
Wow.
And so far they've had like 4 guys. They were like named in this program that they've successfully lured back to Michigan because of NIL money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have no idea what, NIL opportunities are out there for specific players. I mean, sometimes that kind of stuff comes out for bigger players, and obviously we're well aware of Luther Burden's promotional stuff he's done and all that, but I don't really know what some of these other players, what their NIL opportunities look like. But surely there's something that NIL is involved in some way, and I feel like this year has been one of the best examples of how NIL can help Missouri, and kind of those fringe guys that probably have an opportunity in the NFL, but they just need a little bit of convincing, just some kind of financial incentive to come back.
Yeah.
I think the NIL has really helped us out here a lot, and it's going to help us and hurt us, but definitely getting so many of these key players back on the defense, especially too, has been awesome.
The only other thing I have football related is I don't know how much there is to make out of this, but Brady Cook tweeted that. Do you have that? I can't remember exactly what he said. There was 2 versions of this tweet.
Yeah.
He posted a tweet with a highlight video saying the only way out is through, maybe.
Yeah, only way out is through. Hashtag 2023. That was the original tweet.
Yeah.
With a highlight video.
Yeah.
And then maybe 5 to 7 minutes after he posted it, he deleted it and then said the same caption, only way out is through, but he took out the 2023 and just did hashtag MIZ. So I still kind of feel like it says the same message.
Yeah.
He's coming back. He's fighting for the starting job, and someone's going to have to take it from him.
Yeah.
But which kind of confirms what we knew all along. I really feel like we're going to have a quarterback battle next year, but it was maybe we're reading into it a little bit, but a little strange to specifically delete the tweet and then rewrite it. Like, you'd think you would know what you're going to say before you tweeted something like that. But
also, I've noticed that a lot of these coming back announcements have had officially produced highlight packages in the video,
Yeah, that was clearly video that took some effort.
Yeah,
to make.
it looks like it's stuff produced by the athletics department.
Right.
And we've seen that now with a handful of guys that have announced their return. They have these very nice highlight videos, I think obviously produced by the university, or and I don't know, that's kind of an interesting thing to me.
Yeah,
maybe he wasn't even the one tweeting that. It could have been somebody in communications with the football team
that has like his account credentials or something. That's possible. Maybe. I feel like a lot of those returning announcements had like unfinished business with like the Mizzou logo.
It was all very official looking.
Yeah.
Probably, I have just been assuming it's an effort to get everybody on the same page and like advertise this stuff for the fan base to get excited and sell season tickets and stuff.
The coaching staff can encourage some communication with the players. Like, let us know what you're doing.
Yeah, and we'll put this together so you can make a splash. Yeah. I mean, that's what I want to see out of him. And that's, I don't know, I didn't expect anything different, like you said, but I like that attitude from him. I like knowing that he's going to fight for that starting job, and I don't know. I think there's fans out there that hope there's an alternative that's better, but we're not going to know for a while.
I think that's one of the most attractive things about Brady Cook is just kind of the intangibles that come along with him and being a Missouri kid, and clearly just kind of having that next gear of a desire to win and to kind of put on for the school he loves. And in this era of college football, that's not always a guarantee, even with your quarterback. So to have your player kind of just bought in like that, I think, especially from the perspective of a coaching staff, that's pretty invaluable. So he will always have that going for him. And, he did some good things this past season, and definitely you can see some building blocks, but there's definitely going to be a quarterback battle.
Okay, then shifting gears to basketball. Mizzou basketball got a commitment from top 5 JUCO player in the country, Curt Lewis. Curt Lewis, originally from Louisville, played 2 years at Eastern Kentucky, shot 35% from 3, 54% from 2. He's 6'5", 220 pounds. Spent a year at the JUCO level, putting up some pretty big numbers, and next year will be playing for Mizzou.
Yeah, this was an interesting commitment. I felt like was maybe a little bit out of left field.
The timing is interesting.
The timing is interesting, but the connections are pretty obvious. And when I kind of looked into Curt Lewis a little bit more, obviously I was impressed by his size. A 6'5" guard. That's that'll play for sure at the next level. Just seems to be a very much a team player. Like he has just doing everything. Like 14.7 points per game, 3.2 assists, 4.7 rebounds, 2.2 steals a game. All that stuff is per game. Just kind of being everywhere and being a disruptor, and that'll also play, especially with Mizzou's game plan. Just creating havoc on defense and shooting well from 3. Shoots 49% from 3 at John A. Logan. So. He definitely took advantage of that opportunity to play at JUCO and just kind of put up crazy numbers and be the soul of the team.
Yeah, interesting that the connection is still there. He never played under Coach Smith-Peters at John A. Logan, but that's still that connection coming through. Yeah. And Dennis Gates obviously has deep ties into the JUCO ranks where he has relationships all over the place. But
Kyle Smith-Peters' brother is the coach at John A. Logan as well, so
that helps.
That's a little family connection.
That
there.
makes sense.
And number 3 JUCO prospect in the country. So, I feel like it's okay to take a flyer. I think maybe not even a flyer is like an appropriate way to describe some of the top JUCO players. Obviously, you just never know what you're going to get. But I do think that sometimes the top JUCO guards can maybe be a little bit more polished, like Division I ready. We've seen a couple top-rated JUCO forwards like Keanu Post and then obviously Diarra this year, and I think they've both have a little bit of a developmental period once they get to Mizzou.
Okay, you can't just drop Keanu Post on me and expect me not to just reminisce a little bit.
Okay.
I remember articles being written when he committed to Mizzou, and just talking about his numbers at the JUCO level, and I was so excited.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't a lot there with him, but then he kind of turned it on at one point. He was able to score a little bit around the basket.
Had a pretty iconic block on Devin Booker in the Kentucky game.
Yeah.
That's honestly probably the number one play I think of Keanu Post.
Yeah, that's funny.
But just with those forwards, it's tough to make the jump from JUCO to high Division I basketball. That's a big jump. But sometimes obviously Sean East has played really well this year. I think it's been a pretty smooth transition from him from JUCO to Division I.
And I think as this becomes a more constant thing of pulling guys from the JUCO ranks, one thing that I've started to notice is just guys that have D1 experience prior are obviously much better at getting back into the swing of things. And that's, I think, what we're seeing a lot of with Sean East is he played a D1 season. Several of these guys, you play a D1 season or two, it's not working out, you need a fresh start, go JUCO, figure some things out.
Dominate everybody.
Yeah. Get feeling good again, and then these guys really seem like they're ready to contribute at a higher level when they know what all's out there. They know the different levels of competition, know what they have to do. Mm-hmm. Looking at his, going back to Curt Lewis, looking at his size and just kind of how he scores and stuff, reminds me a bit of DeAndre Golston, as far as a bigger guard who can score at all 3 levels. Not the most efficient player, but is willing to kind of just get it done however he can. Mm-hmm. I would say, after watching some highlights, Lewis, I think, is maybe more capable of creating his own shot, although Golston has shown that he's capable a little bit. Lewis has maybe a little bit more skill dribbling and just
A little bit more of a guard probably than Golston.
Yeah, I would agree.
But similar size.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a video of him going around that was just on Twitter a couple of days ago of him throwing down a huge dunk. So, he's a well-rounded, he's an explosive athlete for sure. But, just big picture, though, with, Missouri's recruiting scholarship situation, so this is the fourth, I believe, guy who's committed currently to their next year's class.
Yeah.
So they're kind of one over the limit currently. We don't know what's going to happen with some of the, returning seniors potentially like Nick Honor and Kobe Brown. Some of those guys have an extra year.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's going to happen with those guys. We do know there's 3 guys for sure that will have to leave because they're out of eligibility. But, I just think that in this era of college basketball, I just think you got to leave a couple spots open for the transfer portal, like in the off season, just because I think it's so, you can just hand pick a guy that will come in and fill a specific role, and there's literally 1,000 names out there and guys of all differing levels of experience and talent, and I think Missouri is can be kind of a heavy hitter in the transfer portal if they really want to prioritize somebody. So I don't know, I don't want to fill up on freshmen and JUCO guys personally. I think these are all good additions, but I think at this point I'm ready to be done with additions for the moment until the transfer portal's open. I'm
with you there. That's kind of what I was alluding to by the timing of this, just with no open scholarships as of right now. Yeah. That's not uncommon for somebody to have to move on to make it all work, but that's always going to happen regardless. I feel like there's going to be 1 or 2 guys. I'm hoping it's just 1 or 2 guys that leave that still had eligibility remaining.
There's not a whole lot of candidates on the roster that kind of seem like obvious transfer options, and there's a few guys that aren't playing probably as much as they want to be, but for the most part, everybody that's on the bench is getting to play quite a bit, unless your name is Mosley.
Yeah. Yeah, you're either getting some action or you're a freshman.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and even Aiden Shaw is getting to play quite a bit. So, and especially going back to you're talking about the traditional transfer portal in the off season. Mizzou is going to have the opportunity to be like, hey, we've got an open spot at the 5 spot on our roster. We need a starting 5 desperately.
That's basically it.
You'll play as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, we have a good team that's ready to win now. We just had a good season, assuming we finish well.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're coming off an NCAA tournament, and we literally just have this gaping hole that we need you to fill.
Yeah. And, we know that Hodge and Gamillion are going to be moving on because they're out of eligibility. So there's another spot where you're like, hey, we would happily take the best 3-point shooter / scorer that we can get in the transfer portal and plug them right into the starting lineup.
Yeah. Hodge, Gamillion, and Golston all are out of eligibility.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't love being over on scholarships at this point in the season, but it'll all work itself out. Now, unfortunately, we have to talk about 2 Mizzou basketball losses. This was always a fairly likely outcome with these 2 road matchups against Texas A&M and Florida. I would have really liked to see, and I think they could have pulled off one of these wins. We both thought that they would most likely beat Florida, or that was the best shot out of the 2. Going back to the A&M game, though, Mizzou lost 82-64, and that was just a pretty awful game to watch. A&M jumped out to an early lead. They had a 24-4 run in the first half that basically just put it out of reach. Mizzou actually went on a run of their own in the second half, 17-2 run. They cut the lead to 4, but then A&M answered with a 16-3 run, and that sealed the deal. So it was like
one of the most bizarre basketball games, and it was just like kind of brutal to watch, and it was a lot of fouls and just bad offense, and it was a mess.
Yeah, for a Mizzou fan, it's like some of the worst basketball you've ever seen, and then a run where it looks like, oh, this team maybe can actually play, and then when that stopped, it was just more of the worst basketball you've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, if I would have just for some reason gone into hibernation like last March or something, like right before the end of last basketball season, and just woke up for that game, I would have 100% thought this was Conzo Martin's team because it felt like deja vu, man. Just the last few years of like, I mean, I don't know what it is, but it's like those midweek away conference games, like just some like 8 o'clock Wednesday night game against Ole Miss or Mississippi State or something. I don't know, man. Those games are always horrible. I don't know what it is. But we always lose. We always play terrible, and Texas A&M is just a tough place to win. And I don't know what it is about college basketball, but just it is so hard to win on the road.
And we talked about in the preview how awful of a matchup this was for Mizzou. Just A&M's strength being size inside and rebounding and
getting to the line.
Yes, getting to the free throw line. Those are all weaknesses for Missouri. Yes. Yeah. So there was a decent chance it was going to go this way. Never really would have expected it to be as run heavy as it was. But, Mizzou only scoring 64 points. That was pretty terrible. Kobe had 12 points. He was the high scorer for Mizzou. Demoit Hodge fouled out in just 22 minutes, just 10 points. Shot 2 of 10 from 3. That was pretty terrible. The team as a whole, 7 of 31 from 3. And, of course, Mizzou was out-rebounded 42-25. A&M did turn the ball over 18 times, and that's kind of the give and take there with the rebounding and the turnovers. But maybe that's a wash, but 7 of 31 from 3.
Yeah.
Not going to get it done.
Yeah, pretty terrible. And I'll give some, I guess, more like big picture thoughts and reactions, I guess, after we talk about Florida, because I feel like it was a lot of the same stuff. Yeah,
and A&M, to their credit, they shot 44% from 3 in the game and 62% from 2. So it was really just a bad game for Missouri. Yeah. Those are going to happen every once in a while. Mm-hmm. Mizzou turned around and then lost to Florida 73-64. And this one hurt more, I think, because this was a winnable game. Mizzou...
Right there the whole time.
Seemingly learned something from the A&M game and jumped out to an early lead, 11-0 to start the game. And then Florida never went on a huge run. It was just like chipping away. Basically, Florida's making shots, Missouri's not. Yeah. Florida still turning the ball over. Mizzou actually rebounded much better in this game. Mm-hmm. The matchup's better there with Florida. But Florida just slowly worked their way back into it. And again, Mizzou 3 of 18 from 3. So, and Florida shot the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
Just slowly crept back into it and overtook Mizzou.
The beginning of this game felt like one of the only times this entire season where the other team was just like shooting poorly.
Yeah.
Like had open looks, like Florida had open looks, and they just were not making anything. And, you know.
Yeah, I feel like Illinois. It was like reminiscent of the Illinois game where it was just like, oh, are we just going to run away with this?
Yeah. Yeah, so that has not happened very many times this year, even, you know, with poor defense. I just feel like teams are making shots against Mizzou all season long. So they got a little bit lucky there at the beginning of the game, but like you said, it just didn't matter. And we talked about Colin Castleton and how it kind of felt like Missouri has mitigated him a little bit over the last couple of years. You know, he's a good SEC player. He's not great, but he looked great in this game. Unfortunately, you were even talking some smack on him in Discord a little bit, just like I'm not scared of this guy.
Yeah,
and he kind of made us look bad for sure in this game. And
yeah, he did it all. 16 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, 3 steals.
Yeah, he just completely exploited the matchup and did exactly what an experienced player would do.
And it made it difficult because we're wanting to work the offense through Kobe Brown, but he's at a size disadvantage with Castleton, and Castleton is, quick enough to move with him.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't a good matchup. Sometimes they would have to put a smaller guy on Kobe, and that would work okay, but then Florida would double him, and it just wasn't working well. And, of course, when Mizzou is doubling Castleton, he's passing out of it well because he's 6'11". He kind of tortured us a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I think that just at this point in the season, like, there's I think our fears have been realized a little bit. Like we were talking about at the beginning of the year, like, we're beating up on these bad teams. We're just kind of doing whatever we want. We're causing all these turnovers, just scoring points off of havoc plays and all this stuff. And, I just kept kind of thinking in the back of my mind, this is great until we probably play some better coached teams that, have watched film and know exactly what to do. And
yeah,
I do kind of feel like there's been a little bit of that, like kind of just coming back to the mean a little bit with just not being able to make a living off of steals and just outlet passes in transition. And man, when we have been forced to play the half court game, we've not looked good at all. And on offense or defense, obviously defense has been terrible all year, but the offense I think has been exploited a little bit the last few weeks, where they've been forced to kind of slow the game down, grind out the half court offense, and they just have shot horribly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of standing around, like with 4 guys standing around the perimeter and 1 guy just kind of trying to create on ISO, and it's not really working consistently.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like even with some of the deficiencies even in either one of these games, but most obviously the Florida game, since it was very winnable, just being ice cold from 3.
Yeah.
You could withstand all of that other stuff if you were just making threes at like a 40% clip.
Right.
35 to 40%, it's going to be a 1 possession game at the buzzer probably.
Right. Yeah, and again, like, I think Demoy Hodge was kind of like the savior of the beginning of the season. He was just that guy that was always going to hit that clutch shot. Was creating a lot of steals and turnovers and plays in transition, and that just hasn't really been happening the last few games. And it just seems like basically anytime he touches the ball, it's like just a spot up shot or in transition. And I just think he's really struggling in the half court, and it's hurting us. And we just don't have that guy that can go hit a shot right now.
Yeah, Kobe Brown finished with 21 points. He was 1 for 3 from 3. I mean, offensively for him in this Florida game, he should have been going to the free throw line more.
Yeah.
He was kind of getting hammered down low and still made 7 of his 15 2-point attempts. You'd like to see that a little bit better, but I'd say 3 of those misses, he should have been going to the line for 2.
Yeah, he was getting hacked for sure, and just wasn't getting the calls. And I don't know if it's just because he's a big dude and like the refs just think he can like absorb some of that stuff. I don't know, but I just again with Demoy Hodge, it's like I think he's figuring out when you play at a high level with these great coaches, and once you get on the scouting report,
yeah,
they figure out ways to take you out of the game. And Kobe Brown is a great player, but I think in the past we've talked about, can Kobe Brown carry a team, and can he be the best scorer on the team? Will that team be successful? And I think we're kind of finding out, like, maybe not consistently.
Yeah, but it feels like a broken record just saying 3-point shooting, 3-point shooting, 3-point shooting. But that's what it is for Kobe, is he's got to be able to kick it out to guys that can knock down threes.
Yeah.
And if that's not happening, then 21 points from Kobe Brown in this Florida game is enough to win the game if Hodge makes a couple threes, if Noah Carter makes a couple threes. They had 1 3-point make between the 2 of them. Nick Honor 0 for 3. So,
yeah, I kind of felt like this was maybe one of Nick Honor's worst games in a Mizzou uniform for whatever reason. He, I don't know, man. He just looked not really himself in this game. Was doing, even the announcers were kind of picking up on this a little bit, where he was just like getting good looks and passing it up, or like he would drive like under the basket and just kind of keep going under the basket and just not shoot. And when he did shoot his threes, he was not on. And so, I don't know. I think this was just kind of one of those long road trips. I think they went directly to Florida after the A&M game, so they weren't home for a while. Again, it's just incredibly difficult to win on the road. I'm not too terribly worried, but I definitely think that other coaches are figuring out how to minimize this a little bit.
Yeah, it's always a shame though when you drop a winnable game, when you lose a winnable game, and when you're kind of looking at some of these toss-up games, and especially on the road,
It's not an easy rest of the schedule at all.
Right. So grabbing any of those is huge for postseason opportunities.
And you start looking at the SEC standings too, and how close everything is just razor thin at the end of the year. Like, all of these teams are just going to be jumbled up in the middle of the standings. You just would love to have had one of those.
So after the 2 losses, Mizzou 13-4 overall, 2-3 in conference play, dropped all the way to 57th in KenPom, still 9th overall in offensive efficiency, 186 on defense. They are a 9 seed right now in ESPN bracketology, 11 on barttorvik.com. Those are the only 2 I know off the top of my head. We've had enough conference games now that it's maybe more helpful to look at the stats from just the conference games, especially considering Mizzou's level of competition and non-conference play. But in SEC games only, Mizzou has the 5th best offensive efficiency and is 10th out of 14 in defensive efficiency. And a really alarming stat is in SEC games, opponents are shooting 58% from 2. That is 14th out of 14 in SEC play.
I believe it.
And now we get to come back home for a rematch against Arkansas. Obviously, lost a heartbreaker to Arkansas earlier this season, but since then, Arkansas has lost their last 3 games. They have struggled in a lot of the same ways that they struggled against Mizzou in that matchup. They've lost all 3 of those games by double digits, including a road loss to Vanderbilt. I think you watched almost all of that game. They gave up 97 points to Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Somehow they're still ranked too. I thought that was kind of funny.
That's worth mentioning. Mizzou does drop out of the rankings. They received 1 vote at 23.
Yeah.
So,
which is fine, honestly.
Yeah, still right around there.
Historically, it seems like Mizzou plays a lot better when they're not ranked. Honestly, we get ranked and then immediately we are terrible.
Yeah.
Arkansas has been horrible though ever since the Missouri game. I did watch a decent amount of that game against Vanderbilt the other day, and there was a strange moment in that game right before halftime where, what's the Arkansas guy's name? Black, I think is his last name. Yeah. He basically
Anthony Black
for Arkansas, drove in, gets fouled on a shot, doesn't make the shot, nothing spectacular happens whatsoever, but he the Vanderbilt defender falls down and he stares at him, kind of standing over him, tries to step over him, and like any teammate would do, they kind of shove Anthony Black just to hey, that's not cool. And then there's just everything spirals into there was 2 different technical fouls given to 2 different Vanderbilt players. Maybe it was the same Vanderbilt player.
Yeah, he got kicked out.
There was an ejection, and then of course Stackhouse, who already likes to talk, was going crazy. He gets teed up.
Well, once the refs explained to him that only his team was getting called for any technicals and multiple technicals,
he
lost
goes
it.
ballistic.
Yeah.
Understandably so. I was going crazy just watching the game in my living room. I was like, what? And so basically
then he gets a technical.
Anthony Black just causes the chaos. He's the one that starts taunting. And Arkansas is rewarded with 7 technical free throws, which I've never seen in my life, not even close.
Yeah.
They make all of them. They go up by 12 points at halftime with all this momentum. Vanderbilt is the only team penalized in this situation, and I was going bonkers. I've never seen anything like it.
And then Vanderbilt scores 63 points in the second half.
Yeah.
To win the game.
Yep.
They scored 97 points in regulation basketball.
I love it. Regulation basketball. I love it.
Yeah, so that means Arkansas is due for a win.
They're they're 1-4 or something like that in the SEC.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, they are 22nd in KenPom, 12-5 overall, 1-4 in SEC play. One stat that I noticed when I was drilling down to just conference games is they are shooting 23% from 3 in conference play. Gotta hope that continues.
What they shoot against Mizzou, probably 40 plus, probably.
In the matchup earlier this year?
Yes.
Yeah. No, they were...
I feel like a lot of their damage was done from 2.
Yeah, 29% from 3, 61% from 2.
Yeah.
Not good.
80% in the second half.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I really do think Arkansas is kind of spiraling a little bit, and maybe that does mean they're due to kind of snap out of it, and especially with a game that probably means a little bit more to them than like a Vanderbilt or something like that. I think at this point Missouri and Arkansas don't care for each other very much. They've got the Trayvon Brazil aspect to fight for their teammate. I think there's a little bit more on the line. They could have a reason to play a little harder. But man, this is a must-win for both teams, honestly.
Yeah, that's going to make for an exciting atmosphere, exciting game day when, Mizzou has the opportunity to right the ship a little bit. Well, that's what both teams were looking for.
Yeah.
And but we talked about earlier these midweek road games in the evening it's difficult to get up for those when you're the road team. And if things start off bad for Arkansas, I just hope that Mizzou's got to be able to make a few shots to separate themselves early. I don't like that Arkansas just basically, we talked about after that game, they just I feel like they just lucked their way into some matchup problems for Mizzou. They were not even going to pursue if it weren't for foul trouble. So I could see them really trying to go big with their lineups against Mizzou, knowing how well that worked when they kind of had to move that direction in the first matchup. So maybe look for that.
Yeah, it would actually be really interesting to see what Arkansas does with their personnel and see if they try to get some three-point shooters in there more than they normally would play, because obviously Missouri's super susceptible to that.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy.
Pinion.
Yeah, you already knew where I was going with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was just draining shots on us like the first time we played.
Yeah, he played 9 minutes in the Vanderbilt game. He did make a 3 though. Had something else. Oh yeah, so Mizzou has been trying to get more size on the floor with Mo Diarra, and without being overly negative, it's not working. Would you agree?
Yeah. Got a couple rebounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that speaks to why he hasn't been on the floor earlier in the season.
Yeah, he's just not ready. It's obvious. Especially defensively, he's a liability out there, man. Like he just and there was one play in particular against Florida, like in a big moment. It felt like he was all the way out, like almost half court, like guarding a guard or like on ball defense. I'm like, what is happening? Why? Anyways.
Yeah, the rotations have looked bad for Mizzou this year at times, and surprisingly, they looked noticeably worse with him on the floor.
Yeah, and he just missed a dunk in kind of a pivotal moment against Florida too. I was just like, I was a little confused why he played so much. I understand you're trying to get some more size out there, see what you can do to slow down Castleton. I get it, but Shaw didn't. I don't think he played a single minute.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what happened there.
Coach Gates was asked about that after the game, and he said just coach's decision.
Yeah,
just didn't get out there.
Didn't really tell us anything. But yeah, I don't remember where I was going with that.
Diarra size going to be a problem with Arkansas. I see the staff pivoting away from that strategy immediately. I would be surprised if he's out there for any significant time.
Yeah, I think I'd much rather see Shaw. If you're going to try and get some size, I think I'd rather see Shaw out there.
Yeah, I agree with you. So what do we think about this Arkansas game? We're going to win this one?
Yeah, I think we'll win. For whatever reason, home games are a lot more winnable than away, and that's some hard-hitting analysis. But we lose on the road, we win at home. That's kind of how college basketball goes, and I think Missouri is gonna be able to take advantage of kind of learn from their mistakes from the first game. Hopefully, be able to slow down Arkansas in the paint, because that was what killed us last time. Yeah. Surely Arkansas will not be just like draining mid-range jumpers like they did in the second half of the first matchup, and just taking all these like inefficient shots and just making all of them.
And I know that's some like Ricky Council, that's in his game for sure, and but
or like second and third chance points.
That
stuff. That's more frustrating than anything, though.
Yes. Because like for whatever reason, when you are shooting a 3-pointer after an offensive rebound, the chances of it going in go up like 20%.
It's like seems like they always get burned.
Yeah, I think Mizzou wins this one. I think they get back. Better 3-point shooting has got to come. These guys are good 3-point shooters. There's a handful of guys on Mizzou's roster that can knock down threes. They just haven't done it the last 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to get back on the right track there. And we just really need this win. Back at home. Got to have it.
Is Arkansas a candidate for kind of like spiral factor? Just like completely collapse? I don't know, man. Like,
Yeah, let me look at their schedule real quick.
I don't know if Nick Smith, like when is that
Yeah.
Nick Smith? I don't know when he's coming back. But
No
I feel like
timetable.
things could get bad enough to where he's just like, screw it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I'm just going to go make my money.
Yeah.
And
especially, dealing with a little bit of knee stuff.
Yeah.
There's not a great reason to risk it.
And without Nick Smith, without Javon Brazil, to me, they're so limited. And, I mean, they've got length. They can rebound. But I just think on a night in, night out basis, they just are not going to be able to score. Like, they're just not going to be able to hang with teams consistently enough. Like, what if they just didn't make the tournament or something? What if they just kept dropping
I would
games?
love that.
Oh, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, they've got an opportunity here, though, to make things right. I mean, we're hoping for a win from Missouri, but then Arkansas has home matchups against Ole Miss and LSU, who have been struggling as of late. Arkansas already beat LSU earlier this season, so even if they lose to Mizzou, I could see them picking up 2 home wins pretty quick and kind of feeling better. But
Yeah.
you never know. If
I want Mizzou to
Mizzou
break their spirit.
if Mizzou destroys them and then like midweek it's announced that Nick Smith is like not going to play again this year, like he's just going to get ready for the draft or something, yeah, we could see a spiral.
Yeah.
It's got to start with a Mizzou win, though.
Yeah. Does it feel like SEC conference games just have like 20 more fouls called than like any other like non-conference game we watched all year?
I feel like I don't know.
Are teams just playing? Are we just playing harder and just playing more physical? Are the refs insane? Like, what?
Well, the Florida game, I feel like there weren't as many fouls called, and that actually benefited Mizzou, like out on the perimeter, and
Yeah,
like
Florida
with loose
had,
balls and stuff. But then in the interior,
It was everything.
yeah. And I feel like I even said this in the Discord at one point. There was a little bit of a dust up early on, or like maybe towards the end of the first half, and I was like, get ready for this game to be called differently from here on out. And I feel like you can just see that happening in some of these games where the refs aren't calling much and Mizzou's getting away with a lot of stuff. The other team gets frustrated. There's a little bit of a scuffle or something. The frustration is obvious because they feel like they're not getting calls. And something happens and then the refs kind of tighten it down a little bit, call more fouls, and that ends up hurting Mizzou. So I don't know. I just feel like SEC refs are not that good. I think they're just not good enough.
It's brutal to watch. And honestly, I can understand how fans, like, if they're not as bought into, like, Mizzou or just college basketball, I can understand how that could be pretty unwatchable.
Yeah.
If you're just kind of like, I just want something to watch tonight. Then, like, oh, okay, this is awful.
Yeah. You're like, oh, what? I got nothing going on. Let me tune into this Mizzou A&M game. And you watch that for 20 minutes.
Oh, my gosh. It's so boring.
That's enough to make you not want to watch basketball for a while.
Yeah, it's just there's no flow to the game. It's just constant whistles every single possession, it feels like.
Yeah.
Do you think Musselman's just constant like whining and like berating of the refs like is actually like effective?
It seems to work in Fayetteville.
Yeah, it works at Bud Walton.
Yeah. Surely that doesn't work in Mizzou Arena.
I hope so.
Yeah. It wouldn't work on me if I was the ref.
Do you think if you're an Arkansas fan, you would like get into that? You would like it?
I guess so, probably. Ugh. I don't even want to think about that reality.
I shouldn't have said that.
But you have to. I mean, you just overlook all of your coach's flaws, I feel like.
Probably.
Until they
start losing.
Yeah.
Then you're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
He's always crying.
Yeah, maybe
spend more time coaching him.
Yeah. I hope to see a little bit more of that on Twitter in the near future.
Oh, yeah. I like a good old Arkansas Twitter meltdown.
Unfortunately, even if Missouri does beat Arkansas, they've got a tough game after that. They host Alabama. Alabama is the hottest team in the country. They are 15-2 overall, 5-0 in SEC play. Their only losses on the season are to number 6 UConn and number 10 Gonzaga. And they have the best win of any team in the country this year. They won a true road game 71-65, they beat Houston, who is the number 1 team in KenPom. That is Houston's only loss on the season.
Yeah, they're number 1 in AP too.
Oh man.
Yeah, Alabama, they're good.
They're incredible
This
right
is basketball,
now.
right?
Like this is Oh, that's not fair.
It'd be good to be an Alabama fan, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
At least in this specific moment in time.
Yeah, I gotta hope that just for the sake of the rest of the SEC, this Alabama is peaking right now. They are very, very good, but they are not as unbeatable as they have been. I feel like we saw that kind of with Tennessee, where they were just kind of destroying people, and then Kentucky was like, "Yeah, we'll just beat you."
Yeah, and it's in some way, I feel like you almost want them just to kind of run away with it for the sake of SEC standings. Just every team that plays Alabama is just a loss, and that would be nice for some of those middle of the road teams, maybe.
Yeah,
we don't want any I don't know, who's like a team that would probably be. We don't want an Arkansas knocking off.
Yeah, Florida, A&M, any of these teams that Mizzou has lost to. Yeah. We want them losing a lot of games. Alabama 4th in KenPom, 12th in offense, 8th in defense. Just insane to be that good in both aspects. And on top of that, they play at the 4th fastest tempo. So
they're a candidate for the formula.
Absolutely.
Your tournament.
Oh, yeah.
Formula.
Yeah. Oh, man. Just you wait. Yeah, the biggest part of that. Oh, man. How fun would that be, though? Like, I've watched some of this Alabama team. It's just the most fun basketball imaginable. Yeah, just excellent on both ends and playing with pace.
They make a ton of shots. Yeah, they're excellent.
Yeah, they're led by Brandon Miller. If you haven't heard of him, he is a 5-star freshman. He was the number 14 player in his senior class. He is 6'9". He's the number 1 candidate right now for SEC Player of the Year, according to KenPom's analytics. And he's number 5 in the overall nationwide Player of the Year rankings. He's averaging 19 points, 8 rebounds. He's shooting at 6'9". He is shooting 46% from 3 on 7 attempts per game.
Yeah. There's just basically nothing you can do about a player of that size that can stretch the floor, can just beat you in every way possible. Like, for ideal NBA prospect too. Hopefully he's way out of here after 1 year, but man, he's had an incredible season.
Yeah, a couple years ago, Alabama had Herb Jones, who was could stretch the floor a little bit, athletic wing.
Maybe not quite the athletic prowess though. NBA prospect.
Right. But definitely in that mold. And then Nate Oates just goes out and gets that player, but just with better. The stats maxed out.
Herb Jones is one of the better players in the country a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah. So they've got that again, but better in every way, basically.
Awesome. Is that a coaching thing? Is Nate Oates just the guy? Is he just him?
Nate Oates needs to go to the NBA or maybe take that Texas job that I heard is open.
Except I don't really want Texas to be good either. Yeah, just go to the NBA.
I would much rather Texas be good than Alabama at basketball.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that? Just because
we don't have to play Texas? I want bad things for Texas generally, but I don't know.
Something happens to guys when they go there, though.
That's actually pretty mean to wish that on Nate Oates, to be honest.
To be the Texas coach.
Yes, because only bad things happen.
He kind of seems like the kind of personality that would be like, ooh, Texas job, I want that. But I don't know. Never ends well for both sports.
Yeah, probably what would be worst case scenario would be he takes over at Kentucky.
You think Cal's gone?
Well, no, probably not. I'm just thinking what would be, where could he go from Alabama that, to make more money and still have as good a chance or better to make the Final Four?
Of open jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, potentially open jobs.
Just go to the NBA.
Just get out of here.
Leave us alone.
Just let us enjoy our sport.
Yeah.
Let us enjoy college basketball.
Let's see. Anybody else on Alabama worth talking about? I think they still have, Javon Quinterly still kicking around there. He's still a really good guard, and they've added a few other pieces that are making an impact. Mark Sears is a guard that they got transfer from Ohio. He's playing really well, shoots over 40% from three, and is a very good defender. Gets to the free throw line.
Like one of those classic, just one of those mid-major guys that is really talented and wants to level up, and it's just been exactly what they like hoped he would be. Just exactly the same role he was playing at Ohio. Is that where he's from?
Yeah.
Just killing it, shooting really well.
Yeah, and they've just got long-armed wings that create issues for opposing offenses. They've got another freshman guard, Jaden Bradley, who's playing quite a bit, and he and Quinterly are just like serving up assists to their scorers just all game long. They've always got a guard in there that can put a pass on the money for a wide open shot or a dunk most of the time. And I feel like they're offensively, Alabama is just like peak efficiency where they just don't really take bad shots. So if there's anything Missouri can do in that game, it's run Alabama off the three-point line and try to get them into some situations where they're taking bad shots. It's going to be difficult because they are, at any time, they're going to have 5 guys on the floor that can score. And I don't think you can do anything to shut down Brandon Miller. So just trying to get them into spots where they're not as comfortable and can't just score immediately is going to be important for Mizzou's defense. Hopefully they can turn them over a little bit, but I don't know.
What's Alabama's pace?
4th in the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can't really exploit that.
No.
Yeah, this is just an incredibly tough matchup, really, from every way you look at it.
And because Alabama, I think it's possible they're playing their best basketball they will all season right now. They just beat LSU 106-66. So
it's pretty good.
They play Vanderbilt right now, I think, or tonight. So maybe we'll see something there. Maybe they'll.
Probably not.
No, probably not.
Now Missouri has been a little bit of Alabama's kryptonite the last few years, though.
True. Yeah, we beat that Herb Jones-led
not
team.
Not this Alabama team, but
no.
Alabama teams have passed. Yeah, I think this is at home. I think Alabama's just gonna do what they do, though. But they're dealing with some off the court stuff. I don't know.
True.
There's some pretty terrible stuff going on.
Yeah.
One of their players is in some trouble.
Yeah.
But and it's a Saturday game.
Yeah.
So I think Alabama probably wins 83-74.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think I'll just basically agree with you there. If Missouri can do anything, it's going to come from forcing turnovers and not turning the ball over themselves. If they can win the turnover battle by like 10 plus turnovers, it's going to take a big effort like that in one of those sort of ancillary areas to
just get back to just the insane defense that you were just like full effort trying to even just jump the passing lanes, play a little risky if you have to, just try and force some turnovers. It might be to lead to transition points might be the best strategy here.
Yeah. That's probably going to be a loss. Yeah. And then we're not exactly sure when we'll be recording next week. So we will talk just briefly about the Tuesday night game next week is against Ole Miss. Ole Miss is looking like maybe one of the worst teams in the SEC. They are 0-5 so far in SEC play.
It's about as bad as you can get.
Yeah. 90th in KenPom, 133 on offense, 67th on defense. In just conference play only, they are 13th in the SEC in offensive efficiency. So, thank goodness, Mizzou will be going up against a team that struggles to score, finally. And maybe Missouri's lapses in the defense, in half-court defense, will be covered up a little bit by Ole Miss just not able to make shots. Yeah, I think I like Missouri's chances in that one. That's kind of one that if you want to be a postseason type team, an NCAA tournament type team, you got to pull off one of these winnable road matchups. I mean, we've got this one against Ole Miss, and then Later in the season, we've got Mississippi State. That's a winnable road game.
Yeah, a lot tougher, though.
Yeah. And then towards the end of the season, we've got Georgia and LSU on the road.
Which Georgia's looked a lot better than anyone expected.
Yeah, Mike White's got something going on there.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, this could be Missouri's only road win of the year, of the conference season. And I don't know, man. I'm not panicking after these 2 road losses, but I think I would be panicking if they lost to Ole Miss as far as their tournament chances. So that's definitely one they got to win.
There was always the possibility of a 5-game losing streak here. There was always the possibility of dropping the 2 road games they just lost, and then Arkansas, Alabama at home, and then you got to go back on the road against Ole Miss. And really, that if they lose both to Arkansas and Alabama, that Ole Miss game is like, are we still a tournament team or not at that point?
Yeah, you don't want to be you don't want to be in that spot.
Got to win that one.
Kermit Davis, still around.
Yeah, he was on the hot seat. There was talks about him not returning at the end of last season.
Don't know why he did.
I know why he did. They're paying him pretty well, but
from his perspective, I know why he's back. But why did they ask him to come back? I don't know.
It's like I feel like there's just that weird line where like so many coaching changes were happening in the SEC last year that it's like, okay, maybe do we really want to be doing this as well?
Yeah. Do you know where Andy Kennedy ended up?
I think he's still at UAB.
I just felt like that made so much sense for Ole Miss. He was from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
You go back.
They fire him. He's like their all-time winningest head coach. Yeah. They fire him. They go in another direction. It completely flames out.
Who am I thinking of? LSU.
What?
Yes.
That he might have been interested in that.
It made sense for LSU. Yes.
Yeah. Just imagine though. They're like, hey,
totally makes sense to go back to Ole Miss.
Do you want to come back? We made a mistake.
We love you.
Yeah. No, he's been doing well at UAB. Made the tournament last year.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't go somewhere else.
That's home for him, though.
It's home.
Yeah. Okay, so two wins next week would be really, really cool. I'll take one. You happy with one win next week?
Yeah.
What if it's only Ole Miss?
I didn't know you were including that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, we got to have 2 or 3 here.
Okay.
If we are going to make the tournament, we got to win 2 of these 3.
All right. You heard it here.
In any order.
They're going to beat Ole Miss, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're going to beat Ole Miss. Going to send Kermit packing.
Yeah, I was going to try to look at Ole Miss's schedule to see if there's anything to watch before. So they're playing South Carolina right now on the road. If they start the season 0-6 and lose to a not great South Carolina team, it might be rough.
Yeah.
He may not even be the coach by the time the Missouri game happens.
Got a little bit of breaking news.
Okay, let's hear it.
I don't know if maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more next week, but Missouri just landed a quarterback commitment.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
His name is Dylan Label, Laible. He is from Hutchinson Community College, though, so I think this is a little bit more of a depth add, maybe a replacement to Jack Abraham.
How do you spell his last name?
Laible.
You said Missouri got a quarterback, like they got a quarterback.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, okay.
He plays quarterback.
Well, okay.
They got a quarterback commit.
Okay. Cool.
I just wanted to be a little dramatic. I got you going a little bit.
Absolutely. Dude. I was like, okay. Who? I didn't even know there was a guy out there to get.
Oh, yeah. 6'5", 200. He's a big guy. I don't know anything about him. Other than that.
All right. Well, we will look into that this week and see if it's worth talking about next week.
It probably will be.
Really?
Yeah.
Hutchinson Community College Community college transfer quarterback.
JUCO, yeah.
Yeah? You think?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't wait for you to tell us about it next week.
Okay. It's kind of what we do on this podcast.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that, I don't know. When you brought it up, I was expecting like a sure thing starter or something.
Oh, okay.
All right. You think that's it?
That's it. That's all.
Okay. Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Demore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Tim Keens, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Garofalo, Brandon Hanks. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcast. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week. After a win, please.
Thank you, please.